Hello, it is time for Art in the AM. My name is Jamie, and I have been doing the ABCs of art during 2026, and I've been doing them in this watercolor journal. So today we are up to the letter L for landscapes. So today I want to talk about landscapes in like the two different kinds, really. Two different ways you can lay out a landscape. Let me be specific about that. But I would like to know, as I am kind of looking for a photo, I believe that I am going to do the landscape this direction. And I would like to know what different kinds of landscapes you think of. When I say the word landscape, like what does that make you think of? Because I'm kind of curious. I have an idea when I was kind of like looking for a photo that I wanted to use to kind of like show. I have an idea in my head what I like as a landscape, what I kind of think of, but I would love to know like what you think of. There are two different ways that you can lay out a landscape, and I want you to think about this when you're thinking about creating really any piece of artwork, but in particular a landscape. So if you are looking out your window and you have a view that you want to use as inspiration for what you're going to put on your paper. If you have a photo and you want to, thank you, Sue. I had it up and it just kind of like started doing this like flipping out kind of thing. So I just like went with it, but thank you. I think of if I have a photo to use, if I have, some kind of reference that I've printed out or anything like that. Here is what I want you to think about. Would that inspiration, whether it's out your window, a photo, a picture, whatever it is, would that inspiration be better horizontally, right? Like the horizon, that's how I kind of think of it. So it's like the long ways. Or would it be better in this direction, which most people say vertical as the opposite of horizontal. But when you're talking about artwork and like the orientation of artwork, this is considered portrait. Because you're like a portrait is kind of like long and skinny. So would it be better portrait, or a lot of people call this landscape or horizontal. So a lot of different words you can use as interchangeable. So when I think of a landscape, hi there, Angel. When I think of a landscape, I think of the ocean. I think of palm trees. That's just like my landscape that I kind of think of. Maybe your landscape that you think of is mountains, and that is a landscape too. Maybe you think of hills, and just like a rolling kind of landscape. Maybe you think of like fields. Maybe you think in terms of like a landscape with an object in there, like a barn or something. Everybody kind of has their own idea of what they think a landscape is. I started looking through some books, and tell me if you like collect when you're traveling, like the little travel guide like books. I have lots of them. So this one I realized was from when I went to Waco, Texas, and I didn't look at the front of it, and I was flipping through and I thought, oh, I've been to that place. I stayed in that hotel. And then I realized where it was for. So I was kind of looking through this one, and here's what I was looking for as looking for an inspiration for the landscape that I was going to do today. I want depth in my landscape. And what I mean by that is I want like layers to the landscape. So I was kind of like flipping through, and I'll show you one that probably doesn't have like I didn't mark them or anything, like a lot of landscape to it, and we're just going to use it for inspiration. And I think that today I'm going to use maybe like a combination of paper, paint, I don't know, maybe some gel sticks. I like to do mixed media, right? So it's hardly ever just one thing that I use. Tell me, do you prefer to paint a landscape? I was trying to find one here in the, this is one here. So this landscape here definitely has some depth. And the other thing that I'm kind of looking for is a way into the landscape. And so this bridge, this bridge that kind of goes across there kind of leads your eye into the landscape. And, you know, there's this bridge that's up close, and there's the buildings, there are the buildings that are farther away. It has a lot of depth to it. There's a way to kind of lead your eye into the landscape, and there's a lot of different layers that are going on. I also have this book. This one is from the Destin Fort Walton Beach area, which is actually what my t-shirt says. I went to that area, well, I've been there a couple of different times, but I think it was 2018. Stayed right on the beach on Okaloosa Island. It's kind of outside of Destin. If you don't like the, you know, all of the touristy kind of stuff of Destin, which we don't particularly, I mean, I love the beach of Destin, but Okaloosa Island, little tiny island, we stayed right on the beach, little tiny studio. It was perfect. It was awesome. So I was looking in this one, and there are some other like landscapes. And, you know, landscape doesn't necessarily mean only land, right? Like, I really think of water as, so just because it says landscape doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be just land in there. So when I'm looking for a landscape to use as reference, I'm looking for something that leads my eye in. I'm looking for some depth, and sometimes I'm looking for not necessarily colors, but I'm looking for like patterns of light and dark, if that makes sense. I'm looking for like some areas like that. So this one probably has some more promising. Oh, okay. Look at this. So this one, even though there's not a lot of depth as far as like that other one had all the layers, this one has these angles. So look, there's the sand and then this water. So there's this angle coming in this way of the sand. There's this angle kind of coming in this way of where the sand meets the land, you know, the grass there. And then there's these buildings kind of going this way. So kind of like right in here, your eyes being led like right back into there. And then you have like even the top of the buildings kind of leading your eye like right to that center there. Now, I would probably put like a sunrise or, you know, sunset, depending on where you're looking at it from, like right in there, because your eye is kind of like leading right into there. That one is potential right there. So let me go ahead and I'm going to look through one other book and see if I can find a better one. I really do like how that one kind of goes in. I have several of these. Anna Maria Island in Florida is one of my favorite places. Tell me if you have a favorite place that you like the landscapes. Mine, I have already told you, is water. It is palm trees. It is warm sun. It is, you know, all of those kinds of things that are that type of landscape where I'm near water and, you know, bridges and I don't know, just different, those are the kinds of landscapes. Now, I do like going to the Smoky Mountains, you know, and seeing that type of landscape too, with all of the mountains and, you know, that kind of, really any kind of nature scene. I like that type of a landscape. So I'm looking at different ones here, and this one has a lot more ads kind of in it, so I'm not finding as many good possible landscapes, but I'm going to show you how to take really different materials and put them together into a finished piece of artwork. So really it's going to come, I didn't find any in that one. Where's this one from? This one is Illinois. One time when I was on the road driving. And so anytime that I would stop, I would pick up their little, their little travel guide kind of things. So let me see if I can find one. I think I'm going to end up going with that one with the buildings. And so you can use any, any kind of, and we're just, well, this is pretty basic, but I just want to show you. This one has this body of water, kind of leads your eye into the painting, or into the landscape, kind of leads up back here, the trees and how they kind of, even kind of like this line right in here, kind of leads your eye back into, and then like that curve, like going around. So that's a pretty basic kind of landscape, but there are some really good ways that your eye like pulls into the picture there. So I don't know. Oh yeah, so this one's Illinois when I was traveling. So I think I'm going to go with the one with the buildings, with the little bit of the ocean, and I'm going to do landscape, or, oh, hey there, Wanda. Hi, Shannon. Interesting, Angel. So Angel says she likes bridges, but artistically, they kind of scare her. And I would guess because there's a lot of perspective, there's a lot of angles. And so I'm going to show you a little bit on this picture that I chose with the buildings, how to do that. So let me go ahead and show you this. And this process technique, I guess, that I'm going to show you today, you could use this for anything. Like you could use this to make a picture of an apple. Like you could really use it for anything. So I'm just gonna show you just like my creative process of how I go through and use a photo for inspiration. And then every time I move my phone down, I feel like it gets kind of wonky. So let me make sure. This is the one that I did last week. I did finish it, if you saw that. This is when I was talking about kinetic art. And it actually works, I feel like, either way. But I'm going to do this side here, and I'm going to go ahead and rip this out so that I can have it as a reference. And let's see, I think that I'll kind of keep it like right in there so you can kind of see like what I'm working on. It's actually right about the same size as my paper, which I did not even realize at first. So what I'm going to start with is, since it's about the same size, I'm going to kind of use measurements, because it's almost exactly the same size, this here. So I'm going to use kind of the width of the sand, and I'm just going to make a little mark on my paper. And it's about even on this other side of where like the buildings and the sand, kind of line up. And what I'm going to do, just so I don't have a white piece of paper, I am going to add a little bit of color on here. So for the sand and all of this kind of bottom layer, I'm going to use this natural buff. I have another color that that works pretty well. You could, I think I have more of this buttermilk, so they're pretty similar. I think I'll use that. And I don't even have a palette over here, so I'm just gonna squirt it right there on the paper. And what I'm doing is just really putting down a base coat. So I said you could use this like process on anything that you wanted to do. I like to put down some kind of a base coat. Now sometimes that base coat, need a towel here. Sometimes the base coat is just, not even solid colors. It's just whatever I want to put down. Just a little bit of water. It's just whatever I want to put in the background. For me, having some kind of a base coat, having some kind of something on the paper, it takes away like the white scary paper, that I don't have just starting with like white paper. So I have this down, and I'm just going to kind of wipe off my brush. I'm not even going to put it in the water. And then I want kind of like a sky color, but I don't want to go too dark yet. So I'm going to do this Provence sky color. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to build up the landscape. You could do completely just a painted landscape, and I think those look beautiful. And you know, there are all kinds of artists that do landscapes with oil paint, with acrylic paint, and those are beautiful. I just like to use mixed media. And I am not even going to completely like blend all of that out. I'm just gonna have it just however it is on there. Because this is just the base coat. You might not even see all of this, but this is kind of how I start just about all of my artwork. I start with something down, and that helps me so that I don't have any white spaces afterwards. Some people call this like an underpainting, like you could do an underpainting on your landscape to try to help figure out where things are kind of being placed and kind of get the proportions and all that. When I did a portrait class a couple of weeks ago, we did an underpainting so that we could kind of, you know, just see where all of the placement of the facial features were. So people use this in all kinds of different ways. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to find some papers to have for these buildings, for the grass up in here, and then this little piece of water. Really, this area up in here, I would say, is 3 different blues. There's this kind of like darker blue, there's like a medium blue, and a lighter blue. So I have a whole box of just papers. And I saw this one, and I thought, I just really love some of the colors in there. And I don't know exactly if all of the colors will work for what it is that I want to do, but this darker kind of blue I really like, and I feel like there are some areas where, you know, would be kind of like a darker blue. So I am going to rip just that darker kind of blue. This paper that I have here is copy paper, so that's gonna kind of go like up in the top there. And I like using copy paper for my collage because it's nice and thin. And I like having some of the white, you know, for the ripped edges on there too. Oh, I'm looking at the back. Oh, look at the back. Maybe. Oh, now I even like that better. So I'm going to have this kind of up at the top. I'm going to go ahead and cut this white off of here. So had I known I was going to use that side, I probably would have ripped going the other direction, right? Do you know that about when you rip paper? If I am ripping towards me and my thumb is the side that I want to keep and I'm ripping towards me, that's going to have the white edges. So usually I will rip away what I'm not using, right? So I would hold it with my left hand, rip with my right hand towards me, and then that creates that white edge. I did not do that on these papers knowing that I was going to, you know, because I didn't know I was going to use the other side. So it's not going to have that white on there. Now what I could do is, you know, rip this even more. So I have my thumb over here, I'm ripping this towards me, and maybe I'll do that, and then I do have some white edges there. I'm not going to glue it down quite yet because I want to show you something else too. Oh my gosh, I love that pink and the orange. That's going to be a beautiful sky in there. Now I have kind of this lighter blue. I'm going to see if I can't use that. So I'm holding the paper, I'm ripping, and I'm going to see how much of this I can get. I'll probably have to piece together a couple. This was a painted piece of paper that I had done, and I believe this is a paper that you can download in my Start Creating membership, my mixed media membership. Oh, look at that blue. Love that. I think that I can use this with the orange spots a little bit on there too. But I just want to show you how I'm like getting this started. I will probably I'm going to cut this white here. So isn't that going to be fun? It's going to have those little orange dots in there. So I'll probably have, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the color that's down here and I'm going to glue that down first so that these are all layered on top, so that I'm going to put white. So I'm going to have the white along there too. And I can definitely leave some of that blue showing that I already have down there. So maybe I'll even do this in a couple of pieces and have more white in there. I still want to have, I love that pink kind of part in there, so I may have it like that, so then I have a little bit of white. So then I need one lighter piece to go kind of down in here. And if I want it to be more of a sun, like a sunset, I think that I might be able to do kind of like this section in here. So I'm using the landscape as inspiration only to show like the light, medium, and dark values, not necessarily the colors. Does that make sense? So when you as an artist are using pictures for inspiration, you're not necessarily trying to copy them. You're using them for the placement, for the lights and darks. Like I'm using this just as the, you know, for the angles. Let's see how much of this I might kind of do this in separate little pieces in here too. That to me feels darker than this, so I actually think that I'm going to flip around and have this at the bottom. And then that in the middle there. And I may even be able to use some of this here too. Anyway, this paper I'm pretty sure is available inside of my Start Creating membership. And if you were here last week, if you have been getting my emails, you saw that my membership is open, or it was open last week. I feel like this orange is a little bit too much. Oh, let me maybe have it this way. Okay, so those are my pieces there. And today at 2 o'clock, I'm going to be doing a lesson with portraits. And this is something brand new inside the membership. This is the design that I'm using for inspiration inside the membership where we're doing the portrait. And I have made available all of these tracers in the membership for the flowers, the owl, the sun, the cloud, butterflies, all of these things. So I'm going to be showing all of these things inside the membership today, which is brand new. So I'm going to go ahead and start with these on the bottom, and I'm going to layer so that this is kind of on the top, and you'll see some of the white spaces. So I am going to just have a couple of straight edges so it kind of lines up on the horizon. And then I don't really like that point right there. I don't want to cut it though. I'm just gonna rip that a little bit. So starting today is the first day that I'm going to have a portrait inside the membership. And I have decided that because of that, the cost of the membership is going to increase. Now, if you were following along in my emails and my posts and everything, I said that was happening at midnight last night. Because you're watching here live, if you go to your email right after this video, if you would like to join that membership at the price that I have it at right now, which is $19 per month, you'll get the tutorial every month, you'll get a product review every month, and you're going to get what I'm adding, which is the portrait every month for $19, and it'll stay $19. After I do that portrait today at 2 p.m., it's going to change to $27 because I'm going to have more stuff. There's going to be more stuff in the membership. So I am increasing the price to $27 starting after I add that portrait today. So if you would like access to all of the lessons that are in there right now, I love the way that copy paper glues down onto for collage. I could have used just this paper because I love those pinks and the blues, but I wanted to have like a change in colors. And I'm going to have that kind of like run off the edge. So you can see I'm leaving some of the blue underneath there. And then I will do, I have these pieces in here. I kind of want to make that a little thinner. And I'm going to, actually, I think I'm going to do it this way. Yeah. So let's have this one on the bottom here. Anyway. I am going to send an email right after this video where you can still join that membership for $19. But you have to do it before 2 o'clock today because that's when it's going to increase because I'm putting that portrait in there. So I will tell you the people that are in the membership, the ladies that are in there are, I mean, first of all, they're like some of the most encouraging people I know. They're always encouraging each other and complimenting what they're doing, and it's just a very encouraging group. I think I'm going to have this one kind of in the middle here. And I have seen them become, oh, I really kind of like this side with the orange dots on there. So now I'm changing that one up a little bit. It's not going to have the ripped edges. And then I'm going to do, well, I think I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to cut off this edge over here. So I'm just using my glue stick. Some people, when they're doing collage, they like to use matte medium. I do sometimes, but I really prefer a glue stick just because now I don't have anything over top of this and it dries quicker, and yeah, I just like using the glue stick. Anyway, the membership and the members that are in there are just the most encouraging people, and it's going to end up covering some of those orange dots. I mean, what a fun sky is that? I feel like I want to have something kind of overlapping right in here, and I have a few little pieces that I have ripped that are left over. So I'm going to put some glue on that one and have that, see, kind of overlap a little bit. And then see if I have one more little piece kind of in here. I'm not going to use that whole piece. Anyway, when I am using something for inspiration, this is, I mean, it looks nothing like it. It's just, I kind of want something just to like get started. And that was just enough to be able to have that. Now, what I might come in and do is take a little bit more of this blue paint, and sometimes I'll just take like what's in the lid right there. Take a little bit smaller brush and just get a little bit of paint on there. I actually kind of like wipe it off on the lid. So I just kind of have like a little bit, and maybe I'll take that and just kind of soften up the edges a little bit. So it just incorporates these papers into into the sky. And then even if I wanted to have kind of, some lines for like the sky, I'm going to tone down those orange just a little bit too. And how fun is that? Now this is really looking a little bit more sky-like, kind of up in here. So I just have a little bit of paint on there. How fun is that? Like, I'm just getting kind of carried away now and just adding some little lines for the sky. And now that paper is, oh, that was a little bit more paint than I've used anywhere else. Now that paper is kind of incorporated into, into everything, and it kind of goes with the color that's in the back. And so that is my sky. And what I'm going to continue doing is the same thing that I just did right here for the other pieces. So I will probably have little pieces for each one of the buildings. So I have like 5 buildings. I'm not going to include the fence in there. I might do it like afterwards, but I don't even know that I want that little detail. I probably will have kind of a sun kind of idea in there. I'm going to have a little bit more with white, with the sand in there, just with like maybe a little bit of texture. And then I'll have some pieces for the grass in there. And that's how I'm going to create my landscape, using that one as just a reference. And that's what I do a lot of times with my artwork, is I have some kind of reference. I have some picture, some idea, something that I'm using, but I'm not really trying to copy it. I'm just using it. It helps me to have something that's already been designed. Already the composition has already been figured out. So what I'm using in this photo is the composition of, here's how much the sky is, the sand coming this direction, the buildings coming in, and that's what I'm using when I pull up a reference. Just like when I use the reference for this one, there's a face, there's an owl, there's some things up, with a rainbow. I used it for reference, but then I just made it my own. And that idea took me a long time to realize that I could take something and make it my own. And I could take something and use it for reference without copying it. And for me, that is creativity. That is not copying. It's not looking at the painting that you want to do and copying it and trying to make it look, because you will never make it look exactly like the one that you're trying to copy anyway, and making it your own. And just having the confidence in that you're doing what feels, that makes the most sense to you. Like this sky, I love this. It has like the pinks and, the different blues. Really, the reference photo was just a solid color blue. I've made this one much more about what I like. And it really becomes like, I really like how that looks. I may even add like a little cloud in there. Like, I don't know, I may find another picture where there's a cloud and I can use that. Like I'm kind of, you know, like right in like this area, I may make a cloud up in there. And I'm making it my own. I'm making it creative. And, you know, I had somebody, I think that she's on here actually, but she sent me a message about the portraits that I had been doing and just, you know, how creative they were and that it was inspiring her. And I said, you know, that is my greatest hope, that you would see something that I'm doing, like this landscape, like the kinetic art that I did last week, and go to my YouTube and watch that replay. And that you would take that and it would inspire you to be creative and like experience that joy. Like, I just cannot even tell you just like how much fun I just had doing that sky. And it took me 5-10 minutes to tear up the paper, find the paper, you know, and just put it on there. This one is like one of my favorite pieces of painted paper. I'm going to have to go make another copy of it now. I'm going to go into my own membership, make another copy of it so that I can have it to be able to use. But I told her that is my greatest hope. And she's on here, but I will just tell you a little snippet of what she said, that she felt like I was really teaching her art. And I just wanted to share here publicly just like how much that made my day. How much that is really what I started showing up here 6 years ago live to do, is to teach about the things that I learned when I went to college, when I went through art education, when I was an art teacher, and pass them on to other people so that they would be creative too. Having said that, next Wednesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day, this is not an April Fool's, but next Wednesday is my 6-year anniversary of going live and doing live videos here on Facebook. And I have not decided exactly what I'm going to do, but there will be an event. It will be a celebration because 6 years going and doing live videos is reason to celebrate. And I'll be setting up an event. So if you would like to make sure that you don't miss whatever it is, just put event, April 1st, something that catches my eye in the comments, and I will make sure that you know what's going on, you know what the event is, and it will be on April 1st. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this landscape. And at 2 o'clock today, I'm going to be doing this portrait inside of Start Creating. And if you go check your email just a little bit after this video, there will be an email where you can still join for the $19 before 2 o'clock. You have to do it before 2 o'clock Eastern to get it at the $19. Even afterwards at $27 with the tutorial each month, all about mixed media, and this year we are studying famous female artists. You get that tutorial, all the tutorials are already in there. I do a product review every month, and now you're going to be getting a portrait live that I'm going to be doing every month on the 4th Monday of the month. That's still for $27. I don't know of any art school classes that you could do where you could get 2 lessons, a product review, and the whole library of lessons all recorded to watch anytime you want for $27 per month. So even that is still a good deal. But go look in your email if you would like to join and watch that video at 2 o'clock today, and all the resources. I think I counted there were 44 tracers that you could be able to use for reference for this. So I have multiple different owls that you can choose from, multiple different suns. So lots of resources for you to be able to use. So I will post a picture of my landscape when I get it finished. And as always, I would love to see your interpretation, your inspiration from my project, my idea that I'm showing you today, posted inside of Art Journaling 101 for everybody to see over there. And I will see you next week for the letter M. We'll be doing M. So I will see you then.